I, 52, male, have been married to my wife, 31, female, for 3 years. She used to work for me at my firm, so it wasn't like I had planned to date her in the first place. I never get involved with the people I work with, especially the people who work for me. I'm the CEO, so naturally everyone in the firm works for me, but she somehow made her way into my heart. I wasn't mad about it either because I had never thought I would fall in love again after my ex wife broke my trust so horribly. I never wanted to get married in the first place, but I changed my mind about my ex wife because she asked me to trust her, and it all went downhill from there. I had always had trouble trusting the other person in my relationships. I have had multiple terrible experiences. It might sound like a brag, but I have a lot of money and women have taken advantage of me for my money in the past. I want to trust that not everyone is out to get me, but past experiences have proven otherwise. I had gotten married to my ex wife because I just wanted to get married once in my life, and we had been together for 8 years before I asked her to marry me. She had been happy without being my wife, but she was happier when I asked her to marry me. I really thought I had found the one with her, but she proved me wrong when she left me 2 years after our marriage and took a huge amount of money that she didn't earn. I had made up my mind then and there that I wouldn't get married again, but my wife made me change my decision. I was happy to do it for her happiness. I just thought that I couldn't be that unlucky, right? There's got to be a woman who won't have money on her mind when she's with me. So, my wife and I started dating a little while after she came to work for me. It had been casual and I really didn't think it would go anywhere, but I had made it official after 6 months. People were starting to talk about us in the office, and my wife was uncomfortable with it. She had been the center of way too much gossip, and people were questioning her work ethic and everything. I understood that these sorts of things were harder for women. People like to talk down on women, and I couldn't just stay quiet while everyone called her names for sleeping with the boss. I had introduced her as my girlfriend to the entire office and told them all to back off because we wanted our relationship to be private. It did work, and we were pretty happy for a while. I had told her about my aversion to marriage, and she had been okay with it from the beginning. After a year of dating, though, she told me that she wanted to get married. I wasn't ready for it all, so I told her that I couldn't get married to her. She was devastated and told me that she couldn't be my girlfriend all her life and that she wanted a marriage and kids. She also knows about my past and how people had taken advantage of me because of my money. She assured me that I could take a chance on her. She told me that she loved me more than my money, and I believed her. I wanted to believe her because she had been nothing but the best. She told me that she didn't want us to break up and that she wanted to marry me. She even told me to take some time to think about it. She was saying all the right things, and I too wanted to give her what she wanted. I had decided that I would get married to her if it made her happy. But before I could tell her, she told me that she was willing to sign a prenup. I hadn't even thought about it. But the fact that she brought it up because she knew I had difficulty trusting people in the past was absolutely incredible. I got my lawyers involved and they too advised me to sign a prenup. I told her that I love her, but a prenup would make me feel more comfortable about marriage. She understood where I was coming from and agreed to sign it. She wasn't even upset or anything. I was a little shocked that she was the one who brought it up, but she was ready to see it through. It did help me trust her a lot more. It wasn't like I hadn't trusted her before, but I never trusted anyone 100%, even if I loved them. Her willingness to sign the prenup was really making me more comfortable with the whole marriage thing again. I did love her, and after that, I knew that she wasn't with me for the wrong reasons. I was happy for the first time in a long time with my relationship, and of course, I wanted to make her happy. So I agreed to get married. I fantasized about the whole marriage and kids with her and how happy we could be. Too bad, she was playing me like every other one before her. I have to give her credit, though. She fooled me and made me believe that I could have a normal wife and kids at home. We got married within a week. She was very happy, and so was I. I felt so good to give her what she wanted: a husband, a family. I had never imagined myself in that whole situation. I could never picture myself with a wife and a kid. But after my second marriage, I could, and I was very happy with that picture. I didn't have any family other than a few distant cousins, so having her was like having a family. Her only family was her mother, who came to live with her after the wedding. I was happy to have her. My wife was a single child, so it was her responsibility to take care of her mother. After our wedding, her responsibilities were also my responsibilities. My mother-in-law was a no-nonsense woman, and we got along very well, so her presence wasn't an inconvenience whatsoever. We were quite comfortable living together, the three of us. We used to have dinner together too, and I liked having a small family. A mother figure, a wife. We could have had a kid, and it would have been perfect. Instead, it all went to hell. After a few months of living together, my mother-in-law showed some interest in getting her own place. She said that she didn't want to intrude on us anymore, even though I assured her that we loved having her in our home. She was so persistent that she wanted her own place and she would get out of our hair pretty soon. She started looking for apartments and houses. I told her that she could tell me whatever she liked and I would buy it for her. She refused to let me pay for her house and said that she didn't want my money. I still insisted that I could buy it for her if she let me, of course, and she kept refusing. She finally found a place that she liked, and we all went to see it. It was a beautiful house with a big backyard. It really was amazing, and I was really happy for her. I didn't offer to buy it again because I had already asked her a few times, and she had refused every time. After a few weeks, though, she approached me and asked if I could co-sign the house loan with her. I told her that I could buy it for her, but she was not having it. She said that she was a little short on money and that co-signing the loan with me would help her a lot. I had a discussion with my wife and she said I should do it. I didn't want to dive into it without consulting my wife since her family was involved. After all was clear, I told my mother-in-law that I would be happy to help her out. She drew up the paper and gave it to me in a couple of days. I kept them so I could have my lawyer look at them. A few days later, my wife asked me why I wasn't signing the paper her mother gave me. My lawyer had been on vacation, so it was taking a little more time than I anticipated. I told her that I would get the paper back to her mother as soon as possible. When I couldn't reach my lawyer, I decided to read the papers myself. I was sure that they would be fine, but I wanted to make sure. The first rule of business is that you never sign something without reading it first. I gave the paper a read. It was all just financial jibber jabber, but something towards the end caught my eye. I was just about to sign the paper when I read the last clause. I read it a few times to understand that what I was reading was actually there. It was a clause to reverse the prenup that my wife and I had signed before our wedding. It was quite well hidden, but I still caught it. I honestly didn't know what to do after that. I just sat in my office and stared at it for a good couple of hours. Then I called my lawyer and asked her to cut her vacation short. Then I rushed home and asked my wife and mother-in-law to get out of my house. They looked pretty confused for people who knew what they had done behind my back. My wife was crying hysterically and asking what was wrong. She said she wanted to explain, but I didn't give them a chance to say anything. I was way too angry to have a chat with them, and I didn't want to yell at them when I was that angry. My wife probably understood what was happening because she packed a small bag to leave and took her mother with her. I'm now going to file for divorce. Am I the a-hole for kicking them out without hearing them out first? Update 1. So I completely ignored my wife for a few days because I needed time alone to just get over the fact that I had been fooled again. This time was way more personal than all the others. She really did make me believe that I could have a family. She used me as a way for her to gain my trust, and then it all came crashing down. My lawyer contacted me in the meantime and told me that what was read in the papers was correct. She was working on figuring out how to proceed now that we had found out what my wife was planning. I told her to go ahead and serve my wife whatever notice she wanted because I really wasn't in the headspace to face her. I couldn't even answer her when she asked if I wanted to divorce my wife. I had so many plans involving her and our kids who will never be born. It was honestly so difficult for me to come to terms with it all. I never had that much trouble moving on in the past because I never fully gave my trust to anyone. Even my wife, whom I had been with for a decade, didn't get my 100% trust. It was hard when my past relationships ended, but this was devastating and shocking to say the least. We hadn't even been married for a whole year. She couldn't even wait for a whole year before she decided to scam me out of money and our marriage. I kept getting calls and texts from her and her mother, but I never replied. I just wanted this nightmare to be over. She hurt me more than anyone I have ever been with before, and I felt like even giving her a chance to talk was a weakness on my part. Of course, I wanted answers, but I was dreading looking her in the face and not seeing my wife, whom I loved. I was scared to see the real her, so I did a cowardly thing and ignored her for months. Update 2. My lawyer sent my wife the divorce papers because I told her to, and my wife refused to acknowledge them unless I saw her. I didn't know what she was trying to accomplish. Maybe she wanted money, or maybe she wanted to manipulate me into staying with her. I refused to see her, but my lawyer advised that I should have a chat with her and get closure. I didn't like the fact that my lawyer was trying to be my therapist, but she made sense, so I said yes to meeting my wife. She came over alone. She didn't bring her mother. We sat in my living room for about 20 minutes without saying a word. She broke the silence and said sorry. I actually flinched when she said that because I have heard that a lot in my life, most times insincere. I asked her what she wanted, and she said that she wanted my forgiveness. The audacity of that woman. I told her I wouldn't give her my forgiveness, so she could ask for something else, maybe some money. She started crying after that. She said that she didn't want to do it, but her mom convinced her that they could get away with it. The mom excuse doesn't work when you're an adult. She should have thought about it in her own mind, even if her mom convinced her. I just kept a poker face the entire time she was in front of me because I didn't want her to see me hurt. She had hurt me horribly, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of knowing that. She kept talking, though. She said that her financial condition was very poor and she just wanted to keep herself and her mom from being homeless. I understood that her condition must have been bad, but her sad little story wasn't getting to me at all. She had a roof over her head. I offered to buy her mother a house. I loved her. She would never have to think about money or anything else as long as she was with me. I was done with her crying and her tragic life story, so I asked her to leave. I told her to sign the papers and just leave me alone. Update 3. Seeing my wife was hard as is, but then she went ahead and demanded money for the divorce. Her lawyers wanted to keep it out of court, so we had to meet privately for her claims and demands, which were bizarre after what she had done. My original divorce papers were just that. There was no money involved. I wasn't paying $1 for ruining my life and hurting me beyond repair. But she had other plans, I guess. She decided to challenge the claims my lawyers made. So we met up with our lawyers to discuss her terms and conditions, which were all money related. Not shocking at all. I did expect this from her, but I did not like it. She demanded a whole lot of money from me. Her lawyers were saying that I cheated on her and that she deserved that money. It was all lies. But it was her word against mine, so I couldn't do anything about it. My lawyers asked for different terms, so she said that she wouldn't ask for any money if I stayed married to her. That got me confused. I didn't want to stay married to her after everything. She said that she really did love me, and if we could find a way to stay together, it would all be okay. She said that she would cut her mother off because she was the problem, and we could be happy again. She was quite literally blackmailing me into staying with her. When I thought she couldn't stoop any lower, she went ahead and stooped a little more. I really wished I hadn't gotten married to her. She was like a completely different person. She had been acting all the time we had spent together. She was ready to give her mother up because she wanted to stay in luxury with me. I guess she finally figured out that she could have had everything if she didn't try to betray me like this. I told them that I needed more time to think about it because it was a huge decision. What I really wanted to do was make sure she'd be left with nothing when this was over. Update 4. After our private hearing where my wife blackmailed me into staying with her, I went and saw her mother. She was reluctant to see me, but she agreed at last. I called her to a restaurant, so we were on common territory. As soon as we sat down, she told me that it wasn't her idea and that she was sorry. I kind of expected that since my wife had said the same thing about herself. My mother-in-law assured me that my wife was convinced that it would all work out and they would get a lot of money in the end. She also told me that they have had money problems for a long time. I listened to everything she had to say. She even apologized on behalf of her daughter and asked me to give her another chance. I told her that her daughter was willing to cut her off if I gave her another chance. She looked at me stunned. She couldn't believe that her own daughter would sell her out like that. She said that my wife never talked to her about this. She said she actually didn't have anywhere to go, and if my wife abandoned her too, her life would be over. I asked her to come testify against my wife in court so I could get out of that horrible marriage, and in return, I would buy her a house and give her enough money to get by. She said that she knew something that would make my case stronger and she wouldn't have to testify either. She wanted a large amount of money in return, as I expected. I agreed to it, obviously. She then told me that my wife was the one who started the rumor about us in our office so that I would have no option but to recognize our relationship in front of everyone. She was the one who forced me to acknowledge her as my girlfriend when we were just casually dating because she didn't want to be the topic of gossip. I actually trusted her when she said that she was feeling awful about all the gossip and rumors when she was the one who started them all. It was like my world had turned upside down. It was such a serious confession. It meant that she had been playing me since the beginning. It meant that she orchestrated this whole thing in the first place. None of it was natural. None of it meant anything. Update 5. I knew what I had to do for the next hearing, so I went there with my head held high. She was there looking smug, probably because she thought she had won, but she had another thing coming. I had informed my lawyer of everything I had in mind, and she thought it was a great idea. Her lawyer demanded the same thing they did last time. I pay her an insane amount of money, or I stay with her and give her the luxury lifestyle she is addicted to now. I told them that I decided to give her nothing at all. They said that they would go to court, and I told them that they shouldn't if my dear old wife wanted to stay out of prison. That got her attention. I told her that I had at least 20 people from the office ready to testify that she had been manipulating me into this relationship ever since I met her. She tried to scam me out of money by tricking me into reversing our prenup. I had proof of that, and if push came to shove, her own mother would testify against her. I wasn't really sure about her mother, but I still said it. I was sure she would agree to say anything in court for a nice amount of cash. That was it. She didn't have any counter arguments. She just stared at me like she had seen a ghost, but couldn't say anything else. I was done with her, so I told her to sign the paper and never show me her face again. She started crying again, but her lawyer pushed her to sign because there was nothing they could do anymore. She signed, and that was the last time I saw her. The last I heard was that she and her mom had reconciled after the whole debacle and were living together. I wasn't mad about that. I had cared about her once, so I was okay knowing that she hadn't been homeless after everything. I really did wish, though, that I wouldn't have to see her face again. She was truly the worst of them all. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I guess. Stay tuned for more stories from Argo Relationships.